Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hey there, and welcome back. It is your friend Cesar Espino, and you are at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. You can find me at www.cesarrespino.com. And today I have a special guest, my friend James Allen. What's up, James?
How's it going, man? Awesome to be here.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you, and I'm glad you're here, man. So before we dive in, let me give our listeners and viewers a little bit of your background. So cool. James Allen is a speaker, trainer, and transformational life coach certified through the Brave Thinking Institute. He focuses in helping businesses, organizations, and individuals build their dreams in 4 domains: health and well-being, relationships, career, time and money freedom, accelerate the results, and create richer, more fulfilling lives. For over 7 years, James has studied how transformation works in our lives and brings us to us in a way that is simple, fun, and easy to work with. James has appeared on various podcasts, radio shows, and has been shared the stage with the world's most televised hypnotist and inspirational teacher, Marshall Sylver. James offers inspiring workshops, transformational in-depth educational programs, along with a powerful one-on-one life coaching programs that has helped his clients achieve new heights of success, meaning, and spiritual aliveness. Okay, dude, you have a lot going on, man. Like, that's like, whoa. So many great things going on, which is awesome. So before we get into all of this, though, I want to know more about your background and where you're from, and just kind of give us some of that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Pengrove, California, and it's about an hour north of San Francisco. And I had a pretty awesome childhood in the sense that my sister, who's 8 years older than I, her name's Jamie, so James and Jamie, we pretty much got like everything that we wanted on our Christmas list, you know, like everything that we would write down, we'd pretty much get, because my dad had a really good job. He was in construction, making 6 figures doing that. My mom, she worked for PG&E, and then she was working in like law firms and things. So they were like little kids with a lot of money, you know, just like my parents were hoodlums growing up, and then they started making money. So they're like hoodlums that make money. So
yeah.
Excellent combination. Right. But, yeah, we would pretty much get everything on a list that we wanted, you know. Materially, life was awesome. I had this huge like box of toys, you know, that people envied me for, but it wasn't my fault. My parents just wanted to provide for us. And, that was like cool. But my family had a dark side, and my parents were involved with biking gangs, outlaw biking gangs. And like I said, they were hoodlums growing up. You know, my dad did not follow the rules. I think he barely made it through high school because he was just he did not want to follow the rules, you know, and he just always carried out throughout that. So they were involved with these biking gangs, and we'd have these huge parties and everything. And with that came a lot of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and physical violence that I witnessed. I didn't participate in the alcohol and drug abuse when I was young, but I had to deal with all of it. And my parents would fight almost every single night, and my sister and I would go inside the room that we shared, and we would just hold each other and cry because, you know, we don't know what to do. Like, they're adults, you don't mess with the adults. And right. we just were like scared all the time and not sure. It was so uncertain to know if like my parents were going to be home that night, or if like one of them was going to kill another one, you know, because my parents had almost killed each other multiple times, you know, because they were just messed up. So kind of dealing with that was really rough. And the time I was 5 to 8 years old was the absolute worst of it. It was pretty much my whole childhood, you know, but 5 to 8 years old was the absolute worst, and almost killing each other and everything. And my parents, when I was 8 years old, ended this like really messy, very extremely violent divorce. My dad had almost died. And it was terrifying. And in that, then, going throughout high school and junior high and everything, I pretty much was just really depressed all the time. I was angry, and I didn't really know how to like love myself really. And I was just messed up because, like I heard Tiffany actually talk about Tiffany Toombs, our friend. She has a really good podcast if you want to check it out. But she was saying that like the time you're born to 7 years old is like your brain it's becoming who you are. Like you're instilling your roots, right? And like just hearing that and then thinking about my childhood is like, wow, that was pretty crazy, that's what I had to deal with. But, going throughout school and everything, I was angry, depressed. I ended up when I was 17 years old, actually reading the book, The Four Agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz, which if nobody's read it, I totally recommend to read it because that book is still my foundation today. And fun fact, it's also Tom Brady's foundation as well. Yeah, pretty cool. I found that out. So anyway, that book, I read it, and the Four Agreements, I was like, dude, I could tell myself and just see all the different ways that these four simple agreements were going to help me in my life with like my relationships, the way I interact with people, the way I treat myself, and just it would make my life better if I followed these agreements. So I read that book every single day when I was 17 because I was ready. I was tired of being so mad, so like not confident in myself, especially because I wanted to like girls and stuff when I was younger, and I wanted more confidence in that sense as well. But really, I just wanted to like love myself and be secure in myself. And this book, I just knew was going to help me. And sure enough, it did. And I started like getting submerged in it, read it every day for months on end. And I was helping my friends. I was coaching them. I was coaching family, and I didn't know it was coaching. I was just wanted to help because I cared, and it's like they're going through challenges that I know, the stuff that I know is going to help you. Right. And I had no idea about this coaching thing. I was just, 17, 18 years old. And then I ended up following my dad's footsteps, going into construction work. And I was in Local 38, which is like the highest paying plumbing union in the world. So by the time I was 22, I was making more money than anyone in my family. But I heard this saying, and it matches exactly the way that I was feeling at work. But it was like I was checking my soul at the door every time I went into work. It's just I was not happy. I was making money, and it was just like my childhood. It's like materially things are awesome, but inside I'm not happy. So I ended up like I would go to the bathroom just to kind of get away from work because no one would bother me if I was in the bathroom. Not that I had a problem. I just wanted to get away, and I like to tell people you can tell how much you enjoy your work based off of how much time you spend in the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was spending a lot of time in the bathroom just to kind of get away. And when I was in there, I was kind of like researching other things, other possibilities for my life. And I ended up finding like a Tony Robbins coach guy, had a conversation with him. And he was like the head coach of Tony Robbins or something like that. And talked with him, and he was this very successful, very confident, very charismatic dude, very like a big role model for me, what I wanted to be. And he was just talking to me, asking me these questions. And I was thinking in my head, like, I want to be like this guy. I want to do what this guy does. And that's kind of how I got introduced into the whole coaching world and the fact that it was even a possibility for me. So yet again, back in the porta potty, trying to get away from work. And I'm studying how I could make this coaching thing work. And I'm looking around, trying to figure out this whole thing. And the more I studied the industry, the more I fell in love with it. You can really help people and grow yourself at the same time. And it's a win-win. And in construction, it's not a win-win. Everyone's stepping on each other, trying to, prove themselves, be like, oh, I'm better than this person. They'll act like your friend, but really like you find out they're not. And I was like, this is just not who I want to be. Plus it reminded me of my childhood, which I just didn't want to keep staying around in that circle, So I found Mary Morrissey, who is my mentor for the Life Mastery Institute, which is now Brave Thinking Institute. But Mary Morrissey taught me how to coach. She taught me evocative coaching, where you're evoking the answers out of people instead of being directive coaching, where you're like, oh, go do this. I think you should do this. It's not, people will go to a coach for like support, which of course we do, but the client is the highest authority. So evocative coaching is the most powerful coaching that I could ever imagine, at least today, unless something else comes out. But a lot of coaches, and I've worked with coaches that are very directive, they don't do it the same way that I learned. And I was like, this is amazing. But it was the first institute that I went to. So it took me a while to realize the actual value in that, because I was like, oh, this is just how you do it. And I found out how other people do it. And I was like, wow, this is way better. But yeah, and then the rest is pretty much history. I ended up leaving construction. It was a 5-year apprenticeship, and I was 4 years in, and I was like, I had all my ducks in a row to start coaching and just start speaking and doing the work. And I was like, I don't want to be here now, and I know I'm not going to want to be here later in my life. So I'm just going to do it. And then I took a leave of absence just to try it out, more to give my dad some peace of mind. And I just went for it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me take it back a little bit, kind of going back when you were growing up, and you're right, kind of like what Tiffany mentioned, right? The human mind between the ages of 0 and 7 is when you're going to really absorb and take in anything, and you're really creating the roots of your future. And unless you work on those roots, they're always going to be there, even on the, without even you noticing, on the unconscious level. You don't even notice the things you're doing or the things you're going through. And so unless you start working on those things. So I'm just curious to know, like, you growing up and even going through, your parents getting divorced and seeing the things that you saw, growing up, how difficult was that for you as a kid, being part of a group of people or a community, or even just going to school? And, because I can only imagine that could also create an impact, right?
Like a positive impact, or
either positive or negative for yourself, or going through that, right?
Yeah. So I went through after, so that was in 4th grade when the whole divorce thing happened, and everybody knew about me, all of the teachers, they all know my story because it was so crazy what happened with my family. I'm not going to get into the story right now, but it was this huge thing, so it's like, oh my God, that really happened to this kid. So like everybody knew about me. And then I started getting pulled out of class, I think since I was in 4th grade until like 6th grade, by the same mentor. And it was a part of this program called Mentor Me. And I think I was the first person, like the first actual kid to work with a mentor in that whole entire organization. Now it's this huge organization, which is pretty cool. So I actually want to connect with them now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But I would always get pulled out to hang out with this mentor. And I saw a lot of like counselors and stuff. Ever since this whole thing happened when I was in 4th grade, I just started going out. And I remember like looking back, seeing all these different counselors and people, because they were like, oh my God, this kid went through serious trauma. And I never really thought about it as trauma because I guess it seems so normal to me. And I've seen like therapists later in my life, like, actually pretty recently. And I kind of told her my story just because I want to be completely clear on my side, So I have no shame in that by any means. But I went over and I told her my whole story, and she's like, James, you didn't just have like, something happen in your life, like some challenges, like you had serious trauma. And it's like, I never really just kind of thought about it that way. But she was pretty amazed, just the fact that I went through everything that I did when I was a kid. And then I came out being who I am today, because you would never guess that when you meet me. Right. And it's because, I swear, of personal development. Reading these books, which people think is like woo woo, or think it's crazy, but it's like, dude, that is why I am the way that I am today. It's because I got obsessed with with getting better and the information, and that's why it is who I am.
And that's I think a good point that I want to touch upon, because you just hit it off on the nail. Like, if you go through not knowing your full background story, except for what you just shared, somebody coming, from that background, I would say for the majority of that, you wouldn't think that person will have a good, stable, positive outcome. It will probably be something in the opposite side. In your case, though, that was not part of that. And I wanted to know, okay, what was driving that? What was helping that? I actually met you through also a personal development, because I do believe that it is very, very important for you to continue to grow your mind. And I always tell people, make sure that you're working harder on yourself than you do on anybody else. And so to me, working on myself is also going through this personal development, learning from other people, reading and doing all these different things. And that's how I met you. And so what is maybe perhaps one advice that you would say for people that might be going through some challenges, regardless of those challenges, where they see as the personal development arena as not as important as it should be to their lives?
Yeah, that's, it's, it's like that old saying, like for me I was actually studying a lot of like researching things and how to be confident, because that's what I really wanted when I first started. personal development was I just want to be confident in myself. I want to be confident so I can talk to girls, and like I had a girlfriend, but I wasn't confident. Just because you have a girlfriend doesn't mean you have a great relationship.
Right.
And I think it comes down to that thing where you got to be ready. You got to be like, I want to change, because all these books, all these mentors and stuff, you got to find the one that works for you. There's like Jay Shetty, there's Marshall Sylver, there's Mary Morrissey, Tony Robbins, list goes on. But you got to find the one that resonates with you. And for me, it's been Mary, and then Marshall as well, where we met. But for people that think they're like skeptical about it, like, I mean, you can be skeptical. And if you live your life always being skeptical like that, then like that's like needing to, being like Alcoholic Anonymous, you're never going to actually recover unless you say, I'm ready to recover,
right.
Make that decision and like take ownership over it. So like you have to be going through enough pain to actually say, I want this, and be open to listening to what information comes in. I think people also need to be able to experiment with what they learn. There's plenty of people that read things and they're like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then they just leave it at reading it. But it's like, you have to actually, like, if I just read the 4 agreements, nothing would happen.
Right.
But I read it, it hit me in the soul and was like, I need to do something with this. So I made a point. The 4 agreements, by the way, are to be impeccable with your word, which means you're honest and always speak with love. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions, and always do your best. So if I didn't do all of those things and make a conscious effort inside of my head to hold myself accountable and sink myself in the material so it keeps popping up in the times when I needed it, I would never change, So you have to, personal development works if you work it. But right. You have to work it, and you have to really submerge yourself in the information. I think in order to submerge yourself in the information, you have to be at a point where you're ready to, and you're willing to actually listen to that information.
Yeah, and I think it's a couple of things too that go with that. Number one, like you said, you have to be ready, which means that you're going to accept whatever it is that you have to do and conduct to get better, right? Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels like it's something that you don't want to step yourself into. And the other one is take full responsibility, right? A lot of times we forget to take responsibility for our own actions or what might have happened in the past or whatever the case may be. So I believe you also have to take full responsibility. And then beyond anything that you're getting knowledge, you have to apply that knowledge and take some action, right? And do something with that information. Otherwise, that information is just that information that is not going to serve any purpose, right? Yeah. And I think that if you do and put those things into perspective, you can definitely create that. One thing that I'm curious, and I'm sure people are curious about this too, is how old are you?
Oh, I'm 24.
24, right?
Right now.
And so again, yeah. And so again, going back to that is, again, perhaps, and I can probably relate to this when I was at your age, I knew a lot of people that even in their mind, it was not about personal development, become the best version of myself. It was more about partying girls and all of the other stuff, all of the above, right? And so again, being able to change that and say, no, I want to define my present so that I can have a better future, is that an easy thing to do, right? And so what are some things that you do on a day-to-day basis that get you in that positive state of mind?
They get me in the mind that I want to grow.
Yep.
I don't know, man. It's just a part of me, it's just who I am. I can't help but not have that urge inside of me to want to look something up, to want to read something, to meet with people, to build relationships, like I just figure if you're going to live your life, or you're going to be breathing pretty much and have this experience over however long it is, like, why not make it the most epic experience that you possibly can? Why not make it the best experience that you can possibly make it? And with me, like, personal development does that. Why not make as much money as you can possibly make? Not that that's what it's all about, but why not have the best quality relationships that you can possibly have? Why not keep your body healthy? Because you can enjoy the job or the relationship when you're healthy,
Right.
So I think that it's just something inside of me that just like that's my mindset. And it's so ingrained in me that why wouldn't you do that? Like, I just don't get anybody that would just want to sit there and, not do it.
Right.
And there's a lot of trauma, and there's a lot of things that come with that stop people from actually wanting to do that. People are complex. There's a lot of things that go on in people. But that's kind of just my philosophy. And, I want to exercise. I'm always open to trying new things. But yeah, it's just kind of a part of who I am. And I made that a part of who I am when I started studying personal development, really opening up to that.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you define success? What is success to you?
Success. I heard actually something recently. I forgot who it was by. I think it was by some like rapper guy, and I don't remember the quote exactly. It was a while ago, but he was saying that like all he really wants really is to be able to live a life on like his terms, on doing what he wants, like, and make money the way that he wants to. Something like that. I totally just butchered that. Mm-hmm. But like that's what it is. You know, you have things in your life, and like Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment isn't real success. So what makes a fulfilling life? A fulfilling life, and what I help people do, is live a full spectrum life where, you know, talk about those 4 main areas: your health and well-being, your love and relationships, your vocation or career, and then your time and money freedom. If you breathe another 365 days, another year of your life, you're just breathing, you're going to create some kind of results in those areas of your life. The question is it going to be by design, or is it going to be by default? A default is a patterning of the past. You know, design is where you're coming from yourself, and we really design a life that we would love when we actually have the courage to ask ourselves the question of, what would I really love? You know, now what does the world think I should do? Howard Thurman has one of my favorite quotes where he says, don't do what you think the world needs, do what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is more people who've come alive. So really living that kind of life is, and success in general is being able to live a life on your terms, meaning that it's coming from you. It's things that give you life. Because when I left construction, I said, I'm only going to make money doing things that I enjoy, you know, and I do bartending because I like bartending, and it's good side money. Sure. Why not? You know, another stream of income, but it makes me happy. And I don't do it like just for money. I do it because I actually enjoy it. I like connecting with the people, you know, and like making cocktails and being like a showman and stuff. It's just part of who I am. I love playing music because that gives me life, you know? And nowadays you can make money doing anything. Money is important because we got to survive, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of you being able to make an income that supports your goals and dreams. And the way that you generate that income is through something that gives you life. I feel like if you can nail that, you're going to have a very successful life.
Right. And I really love that. And it comes down to, it's not about the money, except unfortunately, I feel that there's a lot of people many people that are going after that monetary aspect of it. And we see it in many different cases, right? Where people have, I mean, even going back to your childhood, you said you had it all. You had a lot of different things, materialistic items that came or were produced from a monetary aspect. Yet there were challenges within your own family that you had to deal with. And so even now, like a lot of people, you can see that they have, and they're like, I'm just waiting for that $25 increase, or I'm going to move this job to go to the other job because they're going to give me 50 cents more per hour. Right. And we're following the wrong aspect in our lives, because at the end of the day, that is not what's going to be fulfilling, to your soul, to your persona. At least that's how I see it. And so that is one thing that I always tell people too, is that, you know, if you're working for profits, you're doing it wrong, right? You need to be working for that passion. What is that passion? The profits will come after the fact. And I think part of coaching is really that. You're helping people create that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, like money is important. I always grew up with my dad. He was like, hoards money, you know. Being in like construction, he would work his ass off, you know, and he was like, if you don't have money, you don't get a place to stay. If you don't have money, then you don't get food, you know. And like Cesar, you know this with your story more than like anybody, you know, like you've been through the thick of it. So money is super important, you know, but I feel what's equally as important is how you're making the money.
Right.
You know, nowadays, dude, you can have an internet business doing anything. You know, like Gary Vee talks about that a lot. Yeah. Where it's like, you like knitting, you can make a business freaking knitting, knit the crap out of some sweaters, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But it's so true. Like you got to have that drive. And that's where having a coach is so valuable, because it's like someone who can spot out your blind spots when you can't see them. Because if you go at the Lone Ranger, which I've tried, trust me, doesn't work. I have my own coach. I have my own coach because I coach CrossFit. Actually, it's something else that I enjoy. Plus, I get a free membership. I get paid to work out. So why not? Another stream of income,
right? Yeah, exactly.
So I do it 2 days a week. I like the 5 a.m. class. So it's wake up early, knock it out. Awesome setup. But anyway, I was coaching this one woman, and she was doing a press. So she has a bar on her shoulders, pushing it above her head, and she kept dipping her chest forward, which was hurting her lower back. So I just gave her a couple coaching tips, to keep her torso upright while she did it. And she did it, looked freaking awesome, felt great. She's like, it's not hurting anymore. I'm like, awesome. And then as I was starting to walk away, she was like, thank you so much. Like, I never would have noticed that. And then I continued to walk away, and I said, that's why you have a coach. And I thought about it, and I was like, that's why everybody should have a coach, because even when I'm doing the same thing at a different level, I'm doing 3 times as much weight as she is. Then when I get to my max threshold, I still start to dip my chest because it's a common thing that happens. And that's where I need someone to be like, James, you're dipping your chest, because that's stopping me from generating as much power. And then I can't actually complete the lift. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same thing with all of us. We need someone there it's so much more valuable. You don't need it. There's people who accomplish things without coaches, but it's so helpful and valuable to have somebody with you right there that can notice those things and be honest with you and be like, hey, Cesar, you're doing it again. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know,
Right. Yeah.
So that's so extremely valuable to have that.
And so along those lines, do you see that there's a difference of importance between traditional school and non-traditional, or maybe not school education, traditional education and non-traditional education? Because a lot of times coaching, I would say more on the non-traditional side of it, where you can learn a lot of different things. You can learn skills. You can get faster to a place that you want to get to. And I want to hear your opinion on that, because sometimes people tend to say, well, I don't want to get a coach, yet they want to go to the traditional school, which essentially you're having a teacher teach you, which can be perceived as a coach. You're okay with that model, yet you're not okay with this other model.
I mean, it's still learning, in my opinion. What I believe is like with like college and, people going to college, or should I just like go for this and start doing it? It's like, I mean, really, you got to get clear on what it is that you want, because sometimes college is the best option, because you're going to learn the things you need to know. Like, you can't become a doctor unless you go to college,
Right.
Or a nurse. You got to get certain credentials. So it's a part of the path, but you got to be clear on what it is that you want. Because if you want to be in sales and you're like sitting in classes, like so I call this like your 2.0. So like you want to do sales, but you're sitting in a history class. And it's like,
right.
This isn't like, it's not congruent,
right.
And I call this like your 2.0 self. It's like the congruency with who it is that has the results that you want to have. So you first get clear on, I want to be like a salesperson, we'll say, and you're sitting in this history class. The salesperson that's making like $1 million a year or whatever your goal is, they are getting different results because they're doing things differently than the kid that's sitting in history class. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to be that salesperson, like, who did that? You got to ask yourself those questions. Like, you write out like a vision for yourself, and then you talk as if you're like coming from that vision. I have plenty of videos on this and stuff, like how to create a good vision statement and stuff. But when you get clear and like, that's the person that I would love to be, if there's a results I'd love to have, then like your 2.0 you is the person that's getting those results. What are they doing differently to actually get those results? Because if that salesperson that you want to be is making that $1 million and you're the kid sitting in history class, like, is that necessarily what you need to know in order to become this salesperson that sells cars or something? It's like, you should be you study the things, you act as if you are that person, and you start doing that now. Like, how does that person do the dishes? How does that person, drive their car, wash their car? How do they treat their car if they're driving a Pinto, but they love to be driving a Rolls Royce? Like, do they treat the Pinto like they would be treating a Rolls Royce? It's that congruency that's super big. So with like schooling and everything, I have nothing against like college or continued learning. It's just, you have to be clear that what you're learning is congruent with where you're going and who you want to be. See what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I love what you mentioned too, which I think is important for us to know, is have that vision and kind of see yourself. What would my present self do if I was in that body, or in that what that person is doing, right? What would I need to do, and how would I need to act to be there? And I think it comes back to that. It also comes down to that law of attraction. I do believe the energy and also it actually also changes your physiology too, right? So
Totally.
the way you start portraying yourself and you start seeing yourself makes a big difference in that. I remember a while back, I forget when, it was a couple of months back, one of the times that I saw you, the last time I saw you, you were talking about your program and how you coach your the people that come to you, and you were talking about it starts within the, it has to feel good in you, inside of you, your soul, your chest, your heart, something to that effect. And I'll probably, not go at 100% in terms of what you mentioned. Can you touch on that? Because I remember when we were talking about it, it was kind of, to me, it was like one of those aha moments, right? Because you're talking about how does it feel deep down inside of you, in your soul, in your heart, right? So can you touch on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to go for something in your life, like when I work with people in one of my programs, I'm actually making like a video program as at the point of this recording anyway. But in it is a 5-point test, and you want, because people cook up dreams, there's a lot of people that have dreams and then they never make anything happen, but there's a 5-point test that, you can test your dream with, to be confident that it's actually worth your time and your energy. It's not that, that you're worthy of a dream, that's like thinking, okay, I'm worthy of actually going after this dream. No, the dream is worthy for you. You are the point of power. You are the most powerful person in your life. You control the outside world that happens in your life. So the 5-point test, let's say you just made up a dream. You're like, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to do. 5 questions to ask yourself. Number 1, does it give me life? Does it just naturally have this feeling of life that comes up inside of you? Because if it doesn't, you got to go back and change things. What we want, if we're going to be pouring ourselves into something, we want to make sure that it's something that actually brings us up. It's like, I would enjoy that, because what if you died halfway through, or you died, tomorrow or something? You just never know when it's going to happen. I'm not going to say life is long or life is short. Life is not guaranteed. It's unpredictable. Right. Yeah. I mean, I had a friend that I lost when I was 18 that was younger than me, and I never thought that was going to happen. I went through all of school with him, all the way from elementary to senior year. So do what gives you life, or make sure that it gives you life. Does it give me life? That's the first question. The next one is, does it align with my core values, with who you are as a person? And you can spend time writing out your core values or thinking, but it's got to be a part. If you're going to go pursue something, make sure that it's something that is a part of you, that matches what you value yourself. So if you value, relationships, and this doesn't match up with having quality relationships at all, or you value being treated the way that you treat people, and then you're not getting treated that way, whatever it is, it's got to align with you, with what it is that you want. The best way to kind of figure out your core values is, if you are on your deathbed and you had some time to think about your life, what would have really mattered to you? Was it family? Was it your personal growth? Was it the relationships in your life? Was it the amount of money that you make? What really mattered to you? And that's what we want our dream to be in alignment with. So the third question is it going to cause me to grow? Is it going to cause me to grow, to actually do this? Because you want to be growing, because we're always growing. The universe is always expanding. Cells are always growing. There's everything is always growing. If you leave your lawn alone in the front yard, it's going to overgrow, because everything is constantly growing in nature. Same thing inside of ourselves.
So is it going to cost you is it going to cost you from a monetary perspective, or from what aspect of costing you to grow?
Cause.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's going to cause me to grow, not cost. It's going to cause you to grow.
Yep.
It's going to make you grow in being this.
Yep.
And then the next question is, does it require help from a higher power? And what that really means is, do you know all of the steps? Because if you don't know how you're going to make the dream happen, good. You don't want to know how the whole thing is going to be happening, because that is where, number one, the fun is, in not knowing how. You got to be able to suspend the how and just take action in the absence of knowing how it's all going to work out, because that's when we start to grow and become a bigger person in the end. Yeah. Okay. And the last question is there good in it for others? Because and people can think about that. Part of this human experience is giving to people in any way we can. So, but a common thing that comes up is people think inside oh, well, I want an amazing relationship, my dream relationship. Isn't that kind of selfish? Mm-hmm. No, not at all. Because I don't know about you, but when I see a couple that's been together for decades and they have an amazing connection, that's inspiring. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, I want that,
Yeah. What are the secrets? For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's good in it for others, but being able to find where that good in it for others is, that's important. So just recap 5 points. Does it give me life? Does it align with my core values, with who I am as a person? What matters to me? Is there good or no? Does it cause me to grow? Does it require help from a higher power? Meaning, do I not know all the steps? And then the last one, is there good in it for others?
Yeah.
If your dream that you wrote down checks off every one of those boxes, then you know it's worth you actually putting your life into.
Wow.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. No, I really, really love that. And your last point, I like what Zig Ziglar said. If you give enough people what they want, you will get everything that you want, right? And it goes back to what you're talking about, how are you helping and really impacting other people? And kind of, even my own mission is like, I want to be able to impact people by empowering them, giving them tools that they can utilize to become a better version of themselves, right? So it's always good to do that, and it has to come from from a place of heart, right? Which is definitely amazing. But I really love that. So is this something that every anyone that comes into your program, they go through this 5-step questionnaire first, or is that something you're gonna be implementing, or is that something how you start with all your clients?
Yeah, so I learned how to coach a lot of different programs that my mentors had actually made, and I kind of like my certification, they were like programs that have helped like hundreds of thousands of people. So it's like, we knew that we were giving value to people and like really doing, instead of just being like, here, there's a couple principles that you could read in a book, now go coach people. It's like we went through like a rigorous training on how to really get people the results that they want, transform people in the way that they want to. But yeah, it's something that is super important, because if someone's not confident in their dream, sometimes people are confident in their dream, and like I can tell these things when I work with people, because now I just structure my coaching different. It's in the program that I'm making because it's so valuable. But it's something that, if we're uncertain about something, then I want to get clear on their dream and make sure that it is for sure worth their time. So yes, we will go through the 5-point test.
Got you. And then I only have a couple more questions for you. Cool. Before I let you go. Number one, so you're doing this on a one-to-one basis, or do you like group settings for your coaching?
So it depends. I mean, if I go in and work with a team, of people for like a company or something, then I do workshops and I'll work with them. I do like team kind of building things as well with my workshops. But I just enjoy working one-to-one, because I've worked with different coaches, a lot of different coaches actually, because I care about growing.
Yeah.
But worked with a lot of coaches, and even one-to-one with some, and it's like I never felt special to them. So that's something I really care about when I work with people, is like we'll work with each other for a year, a year term. And that is something that's like, I want to make this person feel so special, like to me, and know that like I am here for you every step of the way. So I just really value the one-to-one coaching. Not that I have to meet with them in person. I mean, I do most of my coaching on the phone. Some people like to meet in person or on Zoom, but it can be done over the phone. Like my coach lives in Amarillo, Texas. We meet every single week. So yeah, it's done virtually, but I just enjoy the one-to-one aspect, and maybe down the road, I'll change it to group. I've tried group coaching and it was just kind of like herding cats. In my opinion, is a little crazy. Some people wouldn't show up, it's like, oh, I missed the call. It's like, well, sorry, you missed it. So,
that's cool. And how can people find you if they wanted to learn more about you and work with you?
The easiest way is just to go to my website. It's jamesallencoaching.com, and Allen is ALLEN. So jamesallencoaching.com. You can book a time in there. There's plenty of spots, like little tabs that say book a focus session with me. And what a focus session is we're just going to get clear on where you are. It's completely complimentary, totally free. But we'll get clear on where it is that you are right now, where it is that you want to be personally. We'll get clear on that. And then we'll talk about any action steps necessary. And if it feels like we're a good fit, then we can talk about working together. But regardless, I just want to add some value to people. Yeah. So that's the best chance. I'm doing workshops, right now it's the whole COVID-19 thing going on. So I'm focusing, kind of redirecting things so I can add more value. So my next workshop is, what's the date? It's on 24. Next Friday.
Yep.
So I'm doing weekly workshops until this whole thing lifts up. They're going to be on Fridays at 11 a.m.
And
So
where
the
did they
next
find you?
one's
Where did they find you for that workshop? Is it on social media, or is there a link that people can go to?
Yeah, actually, so I this whole COVID-19 maybe like redo the whole like online aspect, because I was doing in-person workshops. Now it's like I'm doing more webinars. So I just do an online webinar through Zoom, which you can register, and that way you can see all the slides. I totally recommend the webinar. And then what I do is I set up my camera to where it's Facebook Live. So yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, James Allen. I have a very generic name. It's like John Smith, so it could be kind of challenging to find me, but it's my smiling face in a gray suit with a black shirt, if you are curious. And then Instagram handle as well is I am the real James Allen.
No, awesome. And we'll get all that stuff on the comments so people can actually see that. So that'll be good. So you've given us a lot of great tips. So I'm going to ask you for one last question.
Sure.
To see if you can give us one very last tip. If you could tell the listeners and viewers what is one thing that they can do now to start overcoming obstacles in their life, what would that be?
Okay, I'm assuming that people who listen to this are pretty eager to grow. So let's say that you already know where it is you want to go. And if you don't, then get clear on that. But there's 2 steps for overcoming fear. We're talking about overcoming anything.
Right.
And there's a question that we're going to ask ourselves in order to overcome those challenges in the face of them. So the first thing, the 2 steps, number 1 is to reconnect with your dream, reconnect with that vision of, what gives you life. So that's the number 1. If you already know it, if you don't, then make something up. So like, I don't know what my dream is, then just make something up, because you're going to make it up anyway. So make it up. But yeah, that's number 1. So like, you're in the face of it. You're going to go into the big meeting or go talk to your crush. Something happens, and then this fear strikes you, and you're like, oh my God, like I can't do it,
Right, yeah.
Or the world's telling you no.
Yeah.
That is the point where you reconnect with your dream, reconnect with that vision, the reason that you're doing this thing, the reason you're most likely in this spot in the first place, and feeling this fear, because fear is the border of the life that we have known. It's a growth signal is really what fear is. So first thing is reconnect with the dream. Number 2 is to take action. And the way we take action, the quality of our life is determined by the quality of questions we're willing to ask ourselves. So we ask ourselves quality questions, we get quality results in our lives. And the question we're going to ask ourselves is, what can I do with what I have from where I am? That is it. And you stay submerged in that question. I mean, you put your attention on, you like say, there's got to be something that I can do. Then answer will just show up inside yourself. I grew up playing a lot of pool, and my dad and his friend would whoop my ass, but now it's switched. Now I just kick their butts, which is killer. Because the teachers become the master, or the student has become the master. The balls would be scattered all over the place, and I would get so frustrated and be like, there's no shot that I can take. And they would always just tell me, James, there's always a shot. There's always some kind of zigzag, some kind of bouncer shot that you can do to manipulate the ball to make some kind of shot. And I was like, wow, that's such a good metaphor for life, because in the midst of everything, when the world's telling you no, when you feel like you can't overcome anything, or you're just struck by fear, there's always something that you can do. And any action that you take, whether it's big or small, people get hung up on like, oh, I want to take the right action. The right action is anything that moves you in the direction of the thing that you want. A rocket is off course 93% of the time. So 7% of the time, it's actually on course to its destination, like the moon. And it's the same thing with us. What can I do with what I have from where I am? As something will come up inside of you. And the thing that's the most alive giving, that you just feel inside of yourself, like your nipples get a little hard. You're like, oh my God, that could work. That is the thing that you take. You get some chills from it. You're like, I just feel like that'll work. Then just do it. Whether it does or it doesn't, at least you learn, but action is the key. Yeah.
Man, I really love that. And it's a good way to close this. I mean, I love that. So hopefully the listeners and viewers can definitely take note of those 2 steps because they are very powerful. I didn't think of it from that perspective, yet it can give you a lot of clarity. And like, as you said, just take action. And at the bare minimum, 2 things can happen. You either got part of the outcome that you were trying to get, or number 2, you learn from that lesson and you grew from that lesson. So there's no really failure. I don't see anything as a failure. And there's no setback. It's just a lesson to be learned and have to do it better the next time. So I really love that.
It's feedback.
Yeah, it's
There's
feedback.
no failure. It's only
No,
feedback.
yeah, exactly. So I really, really love that. James, man, that was awesome. Again, thank you for being on the show, man. I really had a great time, you know. So anything else that you might want to say before I let you
go? You know, just, I mean, what my like kind of motto that I put in my email signature is do what gives you life. You know, if you're listening to this and you're hesitant, like, I don't even know what I really want to do, or maybe you do know what you're doing, but it doesn't give you life.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing, because again, life is not guaranteed. Yeah. It's just not guaranteed that, you know, you're going to spend that time. It's not guaranteed that it's the last time you talk to a friend, you know, or the last time you talk to your family. So make the most out of those experiences and always be doing what gives you life. And I guarantee your life is going to be everything that you want it to be, because in the end of the day, that's what matters. You know, you're on your journey, and it's doing what gives you life is what matters the most. Yeah.
Awesome. I really love that. So James, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate our conversation today.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
That's killer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And for the rest of you guys, please do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment on this post. Go check out James. Please make sure you do that. Share this with everybody in your social media. You can find us on Spreaker.com. You can find us on Apple and all other platforms. Please make sure you stay tuned for the next interviews. Till next time, I'll see you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.